Uriarte, as we know, and as we'll get to know as well next year in the years to come, has plenty to offer. And hopefully in this session has a bit of a cleaner one after his crash on the exit of turn 4. As we mentioned, super easily done, so you can't be too disheartened by that. A lot of other riders went down there as well. And we're focusing on Joel Kelso, the other home hero, of course, and he went well this morning, did Joel Kelso. He was up inside that top 5. Just briefly caught up with Alessandro Tanucci, the team manager, and I just asked him if it was all good. He was scooting past and he said, yeah, all good, ready for this afternoon. So let's see what the Aussie can do in these opening few laps and then into the rest of the session as well.
Kelso at the moment with 3 red sectors up on the timing graphic, as you can see at the bottom of your screen. On the timing tower on the left-hand side, we go through it every time, but the 14 riders, top 14, all highlighted with the background in their place order. That means they're safely through at the moment. Q2, everyone else having to go via Q1, but that is going to chop and change right the way through this session, because as we say, this is the first time Moto3 guys have been out there and are on slick tyres, so this is effectively one big learning curve, and could have easily been a free practice 1 really. They are properly in at the deep end and they're going to have to work this out. Luckily, some riders like your Adrian Fernandez's, your Joel Kelso's, your Angel Piqueras's, got the experience around here. Jose Antonio Ueda, another one, but the riders who don't have the experience, maybe this is going to be a real test of their nerve here.
Yeah, I think another thing to mention is, and I think you mentioned it this morning, Kiko, that the tactic, I think, in practice this afternoon with the weather so unpredictable, as I mentioned, it looks fairly calm and sort of blue skies, sunshine, and obviously still a bit of wind about, but I think it is important to go out there and get some banker lap times in early doors. We don't know what the weather is going to do later on this afternoon, so get some times in early doors, give a bit of a push as much as you can to give yourself less stress towards the end of the session. Flying formation, the Red Bull KTM trio. That was the world champion Jose Antonio Ueda narrowly avoiding running into the back of Jacob Ralston down at turn 10.
Very, very lucky to get away with that. Thankfully, he went to the outside and not the inside. Otherwise, we might have had skittles down there at what was formerly MG Corner. Now is nameless. I don't know why. Turn 10. And then your suggestion to what we can call that, or what Australian legend we can name it after. We are coming through turn 1. This is the Duran corner. This is down in towards the southern loop. And what an opening sector of racetrack this is here at Phillip Island. This is Max Keeler just blasting on by. Fano Nepa, Keeler's improved. We said about getting a banker lap time. That's really important. The problem is, you're still working on setup. If you haven't had a dry session, you're still working on that absolutely ideal setup here at Phillip Island. You know, teams and riders got lots of experience, some more than others, particularly here in Australia, but you're still trying to get that bike working for you. So getting a banker in, it's harder to do it when your bike's not working for you than it is right at the end of a session or at the start of a normal weekend where you've had clear conditions all the way through. So getting the bankers in one thing, but they're going to be improving all the way through this. I can tell you that I reckon we'll be down towards the 34s within no time. What are we having a look at here? This is Alvaro Carpenter. He did this morning and ran out so wide. He's got out a lot wider earlier on as well. Just about misses the gravel, bumping around all over the place on the exit off the southern loop. Look down, lose a mark in trial, so that you can see how wet it is offline as well. Whoa, pick up a bit of water. Thank you very much. Back on the racetrack, head down behind the screen, and off he goes again. But Alvaro Carpe, he's definitely finding the track limits.
Certainly is. Wondering if that may have been affected by a gust of wind. We are experiencing that. We're going to experience it for the rest of the weekend as well. We did see Carpe though was mistaken to do that this morning. A small error around this Phillip Island circuit with the windy conditions as well can lead to big consequences, as we've already seen this morning, and potentially there for Carpe as well. Found a bit of form last time out there at Carpe, which is good news. Obviously really disappointed to be caught up with the Almanza crash, which Furasato was also caught up in as well, but he regained some important confidence. And I did mention the Keyless Carpe Rookie of the Year fight. It does look like it's going to go away with the Keyless this year. Carpe has dropped down to P6 overall, but if Carpe can just find his way back into that podium fight and get into the mix again, then he could make Keyless' life a little bit more difficult than Keyless would want in the last 4 races. So good to see the 83, who was once Jose Antonio Ueda's chief title rival, of course teammates in the Red Bull KTM box. But I think the overriding feeling after Indonesia was, and Nicky Io, the team manager, said it as well, that Carpe is back, or relatively back anyway, especially after the tough post-summer period?
I mean, it has been a really tricky post-summer period, I've got to say, for Alvaro Carpe. I mean, the DNF last time out, perhaps no fault of his own, but again, you're putting yourself in a battle with riders that don't really pull punches. David Almanza might have got a long lap penalty for it, but Carpe was already being shuffled back by Tayo Furusato. So, you know, Carpe perhaps innocent, but still, you really could do without fighting it out that stage of the race already. So Carpe have a little bit of work to do, but he's at pace. He was a podium in his debut, so there's absolutely no way that Alvaro Carpe hasn't got what it takes. Of course, the flyways as well, these young riders get very, very tired. It's going to be the longest season anyone's ever done, but the rookies are coming in and really got to do a lot of laps and a lot of racing, lots and lots of travel and all kinds of stuff and all the normal stuff that goes on out of the track as well, like PR events and press conferences and all this kind of stuff. All of the things that you don't necessarily see in the Moto3 FP or practice session. There's a lot of stuff that they've got to take on board. A lot of them on their own as well out here. They've got the team around them, but perhaps missing some of those familiar family faces that they're used to back home in Europe. So maybe for some just takes a little bit more time to adapt. But Alvaro Carpe, well, he has definitely lit up 2025 at various points. He'll be looking to finish with a very, very nice flurry of results.
Yeah, I think the podium is really important for Carpe, and that side of the box going into next year, of course, they remain the same, and they do welcome Ryan Ariarte into Jose Antonio Reyes' vacancy as Ralston gets a little bit out of shape there down into turn 10, the downhill braking zone, just as you come around turn 9. Fantastic part of the circuit. There isn't really a non-fantastic part of this circuit, is there? Through loopy heights at turn 9. Ralston just getting everyone, the Australian, up into P7 as things stand. Kelso in second place, so a good day so far for the Australians, but as Kiko rightly mentioned, the times are going to tumble throughout this session. Almanza is on a good one here. Let's get the 22 across the line. After 2 crashes this morning, that's a good lap time from Almanza. Remember, has a long lap penalty to serve on Sunday, so he, well, first and foremost, top 14 is an absolute must, and then he needs to try and qualify as well as possible tomorrow. Tayo Furusato about to cross the line, just behind the rider who was, and there he is, just behind Maximo Quiles on the 72. And he goes into P3, so good job from Furusato so far.
Good job from Furusato, nice to see him with us on a Friday. That makes a very pleasant change. Though his Fridays got a little bit better as we've come on in this 2025 season, so perhaps I made a little bit harsh on the number 72 there. But Tayo Furusato's big problem of late has been getting to the checkered flag, because he's really struggled to hold it all together. As we said earlier, 3 DNFs in the last 5 EPs. Not all of them necessarily his entire doing, but definitely ones that could have been avoided.
Yeah, exactly. The Japanese GP1 was unfortunately Furusato's fault. Just lost the rear coming through turn 2, and then, as mentioned, he got caught up in the Almanza incident over at the penultimate corner last time out in Indonesia. Furusato was 7th here last year, was in that lead group until David Alonso broke clear in the closing stages. So there was a whole gaggle of riders who were in that lead group last year. I mean, Phillip Island always lends itself, especially in Moto3, to huge gaggles of riders at the front. It's fascinating watch, as always, is Moto3 around this fantastic circuit. As Jose Antonio Reyes has a little bit of a queue behind him, as we've seen so often this season. The number 99 leading round the 2, Liquimoni Dynamo, Intact GP boys, Pini, Uriarte, and then Angel Piqueras as well. Piqueras going to get a nice bit of slipstream down the Garden Street.
Across the line they go. Piqueras does, yes, he does move up to 6th place, just a little bit of a delay there for our time. Pini's 8th at the moment, Wilson up there in the top 7, so good stuff from him. We're going to get Furusato across the line. He's punching a hole in the air for Max Quiles. Furusato goes up to 2nd. Quiles does not improve, so lots and lots of personal bests coming right the way through. You mentioned about the importance of qualifying for David Almanza because of that long lap. He's been in the top 10 in all but 3 Grand Prix qualifying sessions this year, so Almanza's definitely got what it takes to put one lap together. It's just his racecraft perhaps lacking a little bit, and he's got 1 long lap penalty. I know there were calls for a couple, but it was his first offence in taking riders out, and it took a little bit of a while for them to come to that decision as well. I think Almanza was arguing that he was down on his right-hand side of the bike and couldn't see where the others were. It was a very, very similar instance to what we saw back in MotoGP back in Jerez in 2018 with Lorenzo Dovi and Jorge Lorenzo. But I think let's say, yeah, the majority of the blame can be laid with David, and a long lap penalty's fine. But luckily, round here, and this is why Marco Bezzecchi's interest in double long lap comes into effect. Turn 4 is a long lap penalty loop. It's not a very long one. It shouldn't be too much of a penalty come Sunday. So qualifying important, but one long lap for sure. David Armando is still going to be in that peloton group at the front.
Yeah, certainly so. And all he's got to do is look at Stefano Netta's race from last year, where he had a double long lap. Dan ran wide a couple of laps towards the end, so 2.5 long laps really for Netta, and he still crossed the line in 4th place. Crossing the line in 4th place now is Jacob Ralston, the Australian. Look at that slipstream effect coming into play down into turn 1. Good session so far from Ralston up inside that top 4, 1 place behind his compatriot Joel Kelso.
Down in towards turn 2. I tell you what, pick a line any will do. I think that was was out wide there, or was it Pini? Couldn't quite see. It was Uriarte. He was just out wide. He's had a couple of moments down there at the southern loop, but Uriarte doing very well up inside the top 14, 11th place at the moment, and he is just over a second off. So Ryan Uriarte, we said he's got pace and potential. He's shown it in Moto3 Practice.
He certainly has. He attached himself onto a good group there, didn't he? He was with Guido Pini, his teammate. This is Valentin Peroni, sat in the box currently in 26th place, so something not quite right there with the Argentine. Hopefully all okay with him anyway. He's completed 7 laps, but maybe something not quite going quite right on the machine. But yeah, Uriarte was behind Jose Antonio Rueda as well, and I think that would have been a message from the team, and just to go out and get himself in a group, of course, with his teammate Guido Pini, who is on a fast lap time now. He's going even quicker through the 3rd split as well with a number 9 support.
Yeah, and that was with a all out of shape Angel Piqueras to deal with. I wouldn't mind paying to see that ringside, because Piqueras and Pini, that's quite an interesting combination. Pini here, he just trip over his temporary teammate here through turn 12 and out onto the Gardner straight. A little bit of slipstream perhaps coming Pini's way, but I don't know if he's just been balked there a little bit down across the line. He does go up to 4th, but does, as I thought he would do, lose a little bit of time as he comes by Ryan Uriarte. Carpe's gone 14, that puts him up inside the top 14 and then nudges Rueda out of it. So the reigning, well, the newly crowned champion, the number 99, a little bit of work to do. This is time for Osato. Oyama there, and the right of shot just stood up there talking to him and getting the latest at tyre debriefs after his first run, which saw a fastest lap of a 1:35.675, half a tenth.
Yeah, just kind of listening to what Furusato was saying. Yeah, I think it was turn 2 that he was pointing at and just sort of making a, well, this sort of sign, sort of crossing your neck sort of thing. So I'm not sure what was going on there for Furusato, but clearly that's a potential place that he's struggling with, or potentially the wind into play there as well. But it's been a good session so far for Furusato. Honda top 2 as well. They haven't won around here in a few years. I think it was Gallup Force back in 2019 that were celebrated Honda's last win around the island in Moto3. So in recent years and in general, KTM have been the stronger package around Phillip Island circuit. But in recent races across the season, we mentioned this morning, KTM has been the package to be on, no doubt about it. Was focusing on the world champion riding his KTM, but Honda have just come into play in the last few rounds. A few of the riders, like Fernandez especially, have just upped their game a little bit, and of course Luca Neto was on the podium last time out.
Yeah, and Adrian Fernandez really did, as we said, he was saying earlier, tossed the victory right up the street, didn't he, in Mandalika. It was a real opportunity lost for the number 31. He's making up for it so far today. Friday here at Phillip Island. Thank you for joining us. If you're getting up early in Europe, thank you for joining us. If you're not getting up early in Europe, it's always a pleasure to have you at the other end. And of course, you'll be able to stay tuned. Qualifying coming up tomorrow. The rest of today's action, MotoGP's T-Zone Sprint tomorrow, and of course, Grand Prix Sunday. Before we head off, pack of bags, and the last one on the flyways, Malaysia and Sepang Circuit next weekend. It's a little bit more of a favourable time for our friends and family back in Europe. We're looking at Cormac Buchanan. He's just moved up into the top 14, goes 13th place at the moment. The top 11, I can tell you, are covered by less than a second. Buchanan at the moment 1.1 off, just a few thousandths adrift of Uriarte, who is ahead of him. Joel Kelso, top 3 at the moment. That will be very, very good if you can see that right the way through with just a quarter of an hour remaining here. The 10th from Fernandez, who's P1. This is Fernandez's teammate Almanza, who completes the top half dozen and less than a quarter of a second away from his P1 teammate.
Yeah, the times, understandably so, a lot closer than they were this morning. The top sort of, well, 14 down to Jacob Wilson was split by 3 seconds, and everyone is within that range of time at this moment in time. Riders who have got a little bit of work to do, let's say Yamanaka down in 24th, and mentioned Peroni down in 26th as well. He's still sat in pit lane, not quite sure what's going on with the Argentine. Scott Ogden, we don't usually see him down outside the top 20 on a Friday. And of course, Rueda sitting outside the top 14. We know Rueda is the only rider so far in 2025 to have 100% top 14 records on a Friday. So he'll be wanting to keep that. Not that he'll be thinking about that record per se, but that's something he'll want to keep up and make his Saturday afternoon a little bit easier. The reigning world champion won't want to finish outside the top 14 on his first weekend as the number 1.
To say about Scott Ogden, he hasn't been inside the top 10 on a Friday afternoon since Austria, so it has been a little bit of a barren spell. It's been a very, very difficult return from summer for Doncaster's finest, I've got to say. Number 19, Scott Ogden, we're talking about, really, really struggling. For whatever reason, he's just not getting the results. He has had his highest point scoring tally though of the year, of his MotoGP career already this year, so that's something to be positive about. But really, no points last time out, and it was a race of attrition last time out as well. So Scott Ogden probably could do with a real result. It's been a long time since Assen, when he was up inside the top 10. Of course, he had that wonderful pole in Germany before we got into the second half of this season, but besides that, it has been a very, very tricky run around for the number 19.
Yeah, had only 5 points scored in the last 8 races, I make it, for Ogden, who celebrated his 22nd birthday yesterday, so a belated happy birthday to Scott. He qualified P5 here last year as well, which was his best for a long time with the M-Lab Honda team. Didn't quite go his way in the race. He suffered a technical issue over in Indonesia as well, but you are absolutely right. The Briton does need a result, and needs it pretty quickly as well, to just inject that bit of confidence that's gone a bit missing since that German GP pole, as you right.
We're having a look at Alvaro Carpe. He's down there in the Red Bull KTM IO box. We've got just under 13 minutes to go in our usual lull of proceedings, and then as usual we have Adrian Fernandez, who's still out there doing laps. This is Angel Piqueras. He's 8th at the minute, so Carpe is 10th. Piqueras is 8th. Splitting them, Luca Lanetta, podium finisher last time out, and a career best P2 in Indonesia. And then just behind Alvaro Carpe, Nepa, Uriarte, your super sub for David Munoz. Cormac Buchanan there in 13th place. What a great ride that is so far from him. And Nicola Carraro, welcome back after missing the last 2 GPs through illness. 14th for him. Eddie O'Shea right on the cusp. He's ahead of Jose Antonio Ueda, 15th and 16th for them. Joel Esteban's replacing Foggia. He's there in 17th. Matteo Battaglia in his 3rd GP back there at 18th. Det Vila was 11th this morning, but in the dries just suffering a little bit ahead of Ricardo Rossi, Boucher Moodley, Marco Morelli, Scott Ogden, Ryusei Yamanaka down in 24th place, so that's a proper disaster here. Tactical Boazzi on your screen is 25th for the number 5, and I can tell you has been up the escape route at turn 4 more times than he's made the apex at turn 4. And Valentin Peroni, as we look, they're down in 26th and last place, and with only 7 laps or so on the board, and with the exception of Marco Morelli, that is the least of this session thus far. Morelli has only done 6.
Only has. So the tactic for the Honda Team Major Duo then is to get out early in terms of time attack modes and try and get some lap times on the board. Buazri just shadowing his teammate Tayo Furusato. As things stand, Furusato looks very safe and sound going into that top 14, but as we know, plenty can change in the final 10 or so minutes. Adrian Fernandez is another one who is, well, he's just re-entered the pits actually. I was going to say that we've seen Fernandez a lot this season go out early. He likes to lap on his own, get the lap times in without any interference as Fernandez, but he has pulled in, so hopefully that's no issues for the current pace setter in this session. But It is the waiting game down in pit lane, as we so often see. Who will be the guinea pig? As we know, Phillip Island, like a lot of the circuits, but Phillip Island especially, that toe down the Gardner Straight is going to hand you a good 4, 5, 6, maybe even more tenths per second, depending on the wind direction as well. So I think a lot of the riders, especially the ones down and outside the top 14, are going to want a good toe hit.
Coming up through Lukey Heights, this wonderful turn 9, drop off the other side of the world, down in towards turn 10. Tell you what, Boazzo's in here, I tell you, for Sato, he's really a very, very good reference point for the number 5 at the moment. Boazzo at the moment 7 tenths off. If he can hold it, he's going straight in the top 10 straight out. So not bad at all from Boazzo. Of course, he's being predicted 18th because he's losing time sector to sector. So it's extrapolating that and seeing where it's going to end up. But Boazzo's coming to the line now. Does he improve in time? I'm sure he improves in time. He goes 11th. That's a big shock. So Tashkon Boazzo on his return had a nightmare this morning down. I think he was in 25th place. He was almost last this morning. Perhaps 24th, just ahead of Uriarte. He was 24th indeed. Uriarte was 25th, and then we had who did we have last this morning? Eddie O'Shea, of course, picked up. He had a few technical problems. But good stuff then from Tashkon Boazzo to move himself right into contention. Teamwork making the dream work down here.
Yeah, certainly so. It didn't look like he was quite close enough to get a whole load of slipstream, but clearly having the reference of Furusato teammate ahead of him helps a lot, as we see the piercing eyes of plenty of the riders. Fernandez watching on, Kelso sitting patiently in the back of the box. Those two riders, of course, P1 and P3 at this moment in time, will feel pretty confident. There's no real pressure on those two shoulders, but we've just seen from Boazzo's lap time, there's plenty of lap time left on the table here. And as we mentioned, get a good slipstream, get a good reference in front of you, and you can chalk a good second off the time here.
35.370 is the all-time lap record, held by, of all people, Stefano Metta, who has had some of his best Grand Prix results around here. He likes the Phillip Island circuit. He's 12th at the moment, so he would be going straight through into Q2, but that could all change. So a 35.370 is your absolute outright lap record. I'd be surprised if we're not in and around, or maybe even under it, to be honest, because there is a lot of time, as Tashkon Boazzo has just proved, left in this. So if Fernandez can find a little bit more time, he'll be right on that lap record, but he's in the pits at the moment. 8 minutes just over to go. Rueda's leading round Valentin Peroni. I think that's Detweiler who's just jumped onto the back of them. So Detweiler's got a very, very good tour guide round here, that is for sure. We look at Angel Piqueras sitting in 8th for the minute. By no means safe though, as we go into the final run and the flurry of fast lap times for sure.
Yeah, so Rueda then leading the pack down the front straight for the first time. 8 minutes to go, just under 8 minutes, so we're going to get plenty of lap times in here. There is the 99 led by Valentin Peroni. So Peroni's placed himself well. He knows, looking at the timesheets, of course, as they do when they're sat in the box and judging when to go, when to not go, and picking who to choose. Rueda needs a lap time here. He's P17 as the world champion, and he's already made a march on Valentin Peroni, as we see Tashkon Boazzo just out of our conference window again, running wide and into the escape route at turn 4.
I don't know how many times, but maybe we should be his crew chief down here and tell him how well he's doing in this, what his interpretation of turn 4 looks like. But talking to turn 4, this is Jose Antonio Rueda. He's right there. He makes it through nice and safe. He's just a little bit off the foil today, Jose Antonio Rueda. I'm not sure he's particularly too happy to be down here on the island. We're definitely pleased he got the title wrapped up. But as he comes through the second sector, quarter of a second off there, that's fine. It will put him up inside the top 14, but there's a lot of riders with personal best and even session best sectors coming through here.
Yeah, look at Ralston then halfway around the lap time. He's estimated to go P1 is the Australian. Keep an eye on the number 12 on a very similar painted, of course, Red Bull KTM Tech 3 bike that we're watching on your screens here. This is the IO machine of Rueda, but look at the lap times here. David Almanza 6 tenths under through the third split. Let's keep an eye on the Honda.
I think they're all behind this rider here. I think they're all chasing Jose Antonio Rueda and Valentin Peroni. Yes, they are indeed. Coming through your shot, Kiedis, Detweiler. Here's Piqueras and Almanza. Almanza should be going P1 here, and with a new lap record to boot, he's going to get a load of slipstream. Massive hole being punched in the air. Rueda comes across the line, moves up to P7. We need to be seeing further back. Kiedis on a 35.4. It's a 34.7 for David Almanza. He smashes the lap record, obliterated the lap record in Moto3 by some 6/10 of a second. So David Almanza, whatever he's had for breakfast, he's got a 3/4 of a second advantage over the Max Keelands, who was originally top. Piqueras moved into second place, but he's still 6.5 tenths adrift.
Yeah, that's some that time then for Almanza. He is comfortably going into the top 14 and into Q2 directly. Jacob Ralston, we said about him earlier on, he is now up into 4th places for Keras, runs it wide out of turn 2. I think there is into Stoner Corner around turn 3. So a mistake there from the number 36. He improved his lap time, did the Keras. Where is he on the time screen? Yeah, he jumped up to 2nd place. So the pressure off for now for the Keras. We're going to get a replay, are we? Iles runs wide. Look at that. Iles dipping his wheels, just about keeping it off the grass. Does he come in back onto the racetrack? No, he just clips it there. But the Keras, of course, as you see there, runs it wide on the exit of turn 2. Well done to Keras for keeping it upright.
Yeah, and he really did well there. You can see that it's just a few bumps all the way around here. Those little rolls that they've got just on the outside of the track on the grass, and that is really, really slippery stuff when you're on a Moto3 bike and it's wet down there. So good stuff from Angel Figueras to keep that on 2 wheels. Coming through turn 8, the hay shed. Cormac McCannon, 17th place at the moment, but this is going to put him right in contention. Oh, at a moment as he tips into Luke Yates, that might just cost him a 10th or 2. But oh, and another one right in the middle of it as well. Is he going to have a moment down in towards turn 10 to complete the hat-trick? Not this time. Hold your breath. Coming through. Buchanan 1.2 off. It cost him some time, but if he can hold it, he's still moving through on this lap, and he's going to have a few more left in the tank yet.
Yeah, it certainly is. This is Joel Kelso with Joel Esteban behind him. The two Joels on track together. Kelso, incidentally, has been shuffled back down to P11 after being comfortable in 3rd place about 2-3 minutes ago. Kelso is now outside of the top 10 and definitely needs a lap time here. Joel Esteban moves up to P12. Great stuff from Foggia standing. Eddie O'Shea now in P14 and on the cusp.
Yes, Buchanan lost a bit more time there, 1.8 seconds off. He improved his time, but not good enough. We said about a 36.5 not being good enough. Well, we're not wrong, I've got to say. You've got to be well in the 135s here, I've got to say, and I reckon there's a little bit more time. Carpe's ghosted his way up into P2, so Alvaro Carpe half a second still off David Almanza, who's put in a qualifying lap, it seems, I've got to say. So good stuff from the 22, and I'm not sure we're going to see too many riders beating Almanza's 34.7 and outright lap record.
No, we're not. Stefano Nepa, P19. We've mentioned him already in this session. Had a great time of things. Last time he visited the island in 2024, finished P4, the closest probably he's ever been to the podium, Stefano Nepa. He's had a few P4s in his career, none closer to the podium than last year here. Double on that penalty, 2 P4. He needs a lap time here, though, to Stefano Nepa. It looks like this is going to raise him well into the top 10 if he can hold it to the line. A bit of slip-tunes go with it. It's P10, not as high as I thought he would, but Nepa, importantly, into the top 14.
It is a Leopard Racing 1-2 as Fernandez comes through on the 35-2, so gets the gap down to his teammate at under half a second. We're into the final 3 minutes. Netta's trying to come through on Carpe. That's the Southern Loop. That's going to be brave in practice, I've got to say, and I think Netta just thought better of it. Picking up Joel Kelso, needs a lap here, 12th place. This is going to put him right up. This should put him up in the top 3 if he can hold it. Does he hold it? Kelso, he lost an absolute bucket load of time in the final sector. Half a second he lost, and that puts him up 1 place. Time for Asardo down closer to the cusp, but Kelso going to need to keep going here. He's oh no, Jacob Ralston is pushing his bike up pit lane. Now Ralston at the moment is in 9th place. This is not absolutely nailed on. That's let go again. That's the 3rd mechanical problem that we've seen this year at a really difficult time. So Jacob Ralston's home weekend has not gone so far so good, particularly for Moto3's Friday practice.
Yeah, maybe spoke too soon about Ralston having some good luck finally. He's had some bad luck there. Another technical issue, it looks like, on that KTM. Thankfully, it's not the race. Hopefully, that doesn't signal more problems later on this afternoon. Ralston currently in P9. He's got around about 4 tenths to play with to drop outside the top 14, but tensions raised then in the Tech 3 box.
I was just going to say as well, Matteo Bertelli moved up to 15th place, but couldn't quite get in the top 14 where his teammate is. I'll tell you what as well, Ralston, that's his session done because we're already into the final 90 seconds. As of net, Yamaha trailing your fastest in this session. David Almanza down the front straight, hole in the air. Yamaha moves in. Carraro is shifted out. We are now on everyone's last flying laps down towards 2, and I think Carraro is lapping right behind Yamanaka on track. So Carraro will have seen that, and he'll be getting his head down for sure now to try and squeeze in. Just over 60 seconds to go.
Yeah, Kelson, we saw on the last lap time around, lost a whole chunk of time in the final split. That's probably down to slipstream, maybe made a mistake somewhere, but to lose that much time without making a mistake, it's slowly down slipstream. That lap time went wrong, or he sat out of it anyway, so this is an important lap time for Kelso. As things stand, he's sailing into the top 14, but not very confidently at this moment in time. That's his teammate Vitelli. He's in P16, final lap for the Italian.
Max Quiles is currently, where is Quiles? 7th, and he's not going to be improving that because he's coming down pit lane. That's why I was looking. So Quiles, I think Quiles is safe. I reckon your top 10 are safe at the moment. Well, I'm only going to say that. Perhaps there's a little bit of life left in this yet. I'll get there in a minute. 20 seconds or so to go. Quiles is rolling out. He's going to get a practice start at least. But there's some change downfield. We've got Fernandez, who's on a personal best. Carraro's looking at coming through here. We're picking up Fernandez now. Fernandez, oh no, sorry, he's not on a personal best at all. Comes through the third sector, 9 tenths off. He's following Jose Antonio Ueda, but Fernandez is going to be in anyway. Checkered flag is out now. So this is what you see, what you get. Ruedas takes the flag, stays in 6th. Fernandez takes 2nd. Where is Nicola Carraro? Is he going to bump? Will you say Yamanaka out? Yamanaka is coming to the line as well. I think we had a lot of change there at all. I think they actually lost a load of time right at the end. So Yamanaka is in for the moment. Carraro is definitely out. Eddie O'Shea, Valentin Peroni, Scott Ogden, Marco Morelli, Brawazri, Detfield, Uriarte and Rossi are definitely out. There are a few people on fast laps, but I don't think there's going to be much change. So Ryusuke Yamanaka may well have just got away with that. Kelso moves up into 5th place. So that's a good last flying lap from the 66. To get that one done, but I just don't see anyone else on a lap time. I think everyone's taken a checkered flag. That is all she wrote. Almanza Fernandez, a Leopard 1, 2, 3rd for Carpe, for Keras 4th, and home hero Joel Kelso, a sublime 5th on his last flying lap.
Yeah, he didn't need it in the end, did the 66, but he landed a top 5 lap time, so top 5s in both FP1 and practice signals a good Friday for Joel Kelso, and Jacob Ralston did survive in the latter stages after some form of issue on the motorcycle. P11 for Jacob Ralston, and for Asato as well, he's just taken the checkered flag. Didn't improve in the latter stages, but the riders who are up inside that top 3 who didn't improve, for Asato being the only one of those now, of course, did make it through. So that signalled why it could be important, it was important for Asato especially, to get that banker lap time in.
What a lap though from David Almanza. 34.7 is just obliterated lap record. I can tell you the top 3 are all under that lap record. Almanza, his teammate Fernandez and Alvaro Carpe. A Leopard 1-2. Well, we were saying that Honda haven't won a race all season. Now, I'm not going to get all excited over a 1-2 in practice, but the pace is there this weekend like it has been for the last few weekends.
Yeah, certainly early doors still. Friday done and dusted, and we've seen it change a lot throughout the course of the weekend. But yeah, very strong Friday for Honda, and Almanza just placed himself perfectly, didn't he, on his flying lap. Got a bit of slipstream, but also don't take too much away from Almanza. It was still a very good lap time to set a 34.726. The Leopard race endure the riders to be heading into Saturday.
And Alvaro Carpe, a return to form for him, and he'll be looking to carry that one right the way through this weekend. 3rd place for the Red Bull KTM Iron Machine, just ahead of Vicaris Kelso. Keeney up there in 6th place, ahead of your newly crowned champion Rueda. So there's a lot of names up there, just perhaps not in the order we expected.
Yeah, the usual suspects definitely up there. We've got Valentin Peroni, a bit of a surprise to see the Argentine outside the top 14. And yes.
Oh, dear me, now that doesn't look very good. Guido Pini's going to have to go hitchhiking to get back to the paddock. That number 94, Phillip Romoli, Dynavolt Intact GP machine has stopped on him out on the track. Pini now, gets a lift back, so that bike is going to have to get on the trailer as the Leopard team watch on as Almanza returns. Gets a nice hug off Bruno there and takes P1 on Friday afternoon. Almanza 34.7, 6 tenths off the lap record. That'll do nicely going into Saturday. Fernandez 2nd, Carpe 3rd. Harrison Kelso completing the top 5. It's 4 Spaniards once again at the front. Kelso, your first non-Spaniard from flying the Aussie flag high. Guido Pini up there in 6th, but he's getting a lift back. Jacob Wilson's mechanical problems did not stop him getting into the top 14. Took 11th. Ryusei Yamanaka just about 3 for him by 45 thousandths of a second ahead of Nicola Carraro. Matteo Fratelli finds himself down in Q1 along with Eddie O'Shea. Valentin Peroni, probably your biggest name now, and his comeback from injury. Ricardo Rossi at the back of the field on 36.989. That is all Moto3 action done and dusted. That is also all from myself. Chico Giles and Elliot York will be back with you tomorrow morning for Moto3 FP2. It's Moto2 practice, this time in the company of Lewis and Neil. Enjoy.
Very good afternoon to you from Phillip Island as Moto2 continues our Friday afternoon under relatively calm skies, as calm as you're ever going to have here at Phillip Island. The wind still is picking up, getting any of the gale force gusts that potentially forecast for Sunday just yet, at least. Moto3 have already completed their practice schedule. 14 riders already booked their place through to qualifying 2. Team Lucky Moto2 riders will do the same next with their practice session of 40 minutes coming your way. Plenty of Australian interest too in that session, with podium finisher every year ago Senna Agius joined by Harrison Hoyt this weekend. The flags. For the Aussies, Jake Dixon for Great Britain